Sigali sugeg. Higit sinuni ni yung gets. Okwali ni wigit alod. On yung taaga ni magahunjod. Hunggung wine nage. Thanks for tuning in and checking the video out. Welcome. So Sigali, that's welcome in my language. And I also told you that I'm 26 years old. I live in Oneida Nation, the Thames. So I just want to take this opportunity to create this video and show you or talk a little bit about Orange Shirt Day. So Orange Shirt Day is September 30th each year, and it's been happening since 2013 through efforts put forward by the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. So it did start out from a lady out west, and Phyllis Wenstab, and she had a shiny orange shirt when she began to attend residential schools, and that shirt was taken from her, and with that a lot of disappointment and a lot of struggle that happened at these residential schools. So now on every September 30th, schools, communities, hopefully it'll become more mainstream and more community organizations will participate. Maybe radio stations will be broadcasting it. Maybe it'll be a lot more prevalent. I think because it is fairly new. I mean, 2013 is 6 years ago, so it's not super new, but it's been around for a bit. So hopefully, as the years go on, there'll be more awareness about the understanding of why we wear orange on this day, and it's to honor and commemorate the residential school survivors and their families and those that did not survive. As many of you may or may not know, residential schools operated for over 100 years throughout the 1800s and into the 1900s, with the last residential school closing in 1996, which is fairly recent. I was born in 1993, so within my lifetime, the last federally funded residential school closed, which is to me is shocking because I am not that old, and just to know that these schools were still going on, and at these schools, if you weren't aware, there were church-run schools, or well, government also funded them, but they were given authority over to the church, and the church ran them, and they basically took Indigenous children from their homes without consent. It was forced upon them. It was mandated, made mandatory, and if you did not send your child, you could be sent to jail. You could be harmed. There were a lot of bad things that had happened to people who tried to protect their children and hide their children from these collectors or Indian agents at the time. And so throughout that, children entered the residential school system around the age of 6, 5, and between the ages of 4 and 6, and they stayed there anywhere from until they were 16 or 18. So their fundamental adolescent years and childhood development were spent in these schools in which their traditional culture and values were not supported or encouraged. They were seen as less than, they were seen as uncivilized, and they were seen as, not worthy of being taught or passed on. And so when we look at what the current state that we have for Indigenous students in the public school system or in the school system in general, it's not overall positive because of the legacy of residential school and the mistrust within the education system. So there's a lot to unpack within Orange Shirt Day, and it does take a lot of time, energy, and effort, and a lot of education. And so I hoped by making this video, people would get a little bit more insight into the reason behind why we wear orange shirts on September 30th. And with this shirt in particular, it was designed by a local Indigenous artist, a former Saunders student, Gista Kennedy, and so he made the design, and we use this within our school, and we're very proud of the work that he does, and we're very proud of all of our students. I guess I forgot to also mention that I'm a teacher at Saunders Secondary School, so that is kind of what keeps me busy, but I enjoy it, and it's fun, and gives me the opportunity to work with young people and to try to share this knowledge that I've been gifted, and that needs to kind of get out there. So thank you for tuning into my video. I hope you got a little bit more information about residential schools, which is just the tip of the iceberg. So please feel free to look at more research and videos and hear from residential school survivors, because they are still living there, and their families are still living with the effects of the physical, sexual, emotional abuse and neglect that they endured during these schools. And also, so Oneida is neighbors to Chippewa of the Thames First Nation, and there was a residential school that had been operated there, and that was the Mount Elgin Industrial Institute, and it operated for over 100 years. And there are many community members that had to attend that school. So it's a really tough topic that not a lot of community members feel comfortable talking about, and not a lot of survivors feel comfortable talking about, because it brings up so many triggering moments. And so we have to respect that, but also we have to look for resources from people who have shared their story through things like the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. There are videos and testimonials and books out there where you can get more information, you can be more informed, and you can raise awareness about these issues, because it's not enough to say that we're doing truth and reconciliation, because really, what does that mean? To me, when we talk about reconciling, we're talking about making things right. And how do you make things right when a lot of mainstream education systems don't necessarily have a lot of Indigenous content within them, let alone Indigenous history, which it's not always, there's no pointing fingers, it's just there's not a lot of capacity, and it makes it challenging to incorporate that content without appropriating or something like that. So I will hopefully do some more videos on these kind of topics, and if that's something you guys are interested, if you want to know more about it, if you want to know a little bit more about my community or where I come from, or questions like that, I'm open to that. Just leave me a comment in the comments. Just leave it in a comment below. But thank you for tuning in. This was one of my very first YouTube videos, so I'm excited to share this and see how it goes. So we'll say Nagitwa, or see you again in my language. Thank you.